We're talking free agents on today's edition of the Bulls Report. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to be looking at the latest free agent targets for our Chicago Bulls after a couple of days of free agency. Have came and went, and we're just going to be looking at the top available guys for our favorite basketball team. Before we dive into that, guys, we're actually in a subscriber battle here with our Heat Report channel for the month of July. Shout out to everybody who's hit that subscribe button so far. 415 of you guys. Really do appreciate it. But the Heat, they're on our heels at 402. So if you guys could help us out, I would love to bury the Heat Report in subscribers this month. So hit that sub button. Lock us in if you have not already. But let's talk about Caleb Martin here, number one for me. And I will want to make this note with where the Bulls stand right now. I don't think the Bulls, if I was running this team, I don't necessarily think they should go out and target any more free agents. I think you already got a good, 10-man young roster, not including, Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan. But as we know, this front office will, everything's on the table for them. But Caleb Martin, obviously a really good, role player in the league. He's a guy who's going to help you get better on the margins, can knock down this three-point ball at least a little bit. But, he plays his ass off, plays 110% anytime he's out there on the basketball court. And the biggest red flag I would have for Caleb Martin is these role players when they leave Heat culture. Like, we've seen their, the next couple of years for them not be the best. Like, you take Gabe Vincent, for example. He was terrible for the Lakers this past season in limited action. But Caleb Martin, he would be an interesting choice for the Bulls. Now, a guy I would actually love to bring in, Gary Trent. Still shocked he is not signed somewhere. Keep your eyes out on the Denver Nuggets. I could see him taking a cheap deal and going there. But Gary Trent can fill it up, man. And he's one of the best three-level scorers we have in the NBA right now in terms of a role player. I feel like he's extremely underrated, even though this past season was not his best compared to the years past. I mean, 2021, 22, averaging around 18 a game, really efficient from downtown, and especially this past season, 39.3% three-point shooter. He was fantastic, and I do think the Bulls, if they're going to add a guy, I would either want it to be a young player who you're kind of taking a chance on, or just a pure shooter, and that's what Gary Trent, obviously is. But speaking about another pure shooter, how about Malik Beasley? He was fantastic this past season for the Milwaukee Bucks. One of the best corner three-point shooters we saw in the entire league this past season, and he shot it 41.3% from downtown. I was actually a big fan of Malik Beasley, specifically when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought he had great handle. He's great at creating his jump shot for himself, and he had a great year in 2021 when he averaged almost 20 a game on really efficient play as well. But he's kind of morphed himself into just a really solid role player where he can knock down the three-point ball, be that connecting piece on offense, and also, not a terrible defender. He can get up and, get after it, other opposing teams' guards. So Malik Beasley, he's actually a guy I would love for the Bulls to sign. But what about Saddiq Bey, former Villanova Wildcat? Is coming off a torn ACL, but he's expected to make a full recovery, so no issues there. And I'm a really big fan of Saddiq, typical 3-and-D player. And, it's funny. You look at like all these guys that come from Villanova, they all relatively play the same brand of basketball where they're playing off two. They're just, they're not trying to do too much. It's not like they're, this AAU style of basketball, which we have seen come in and absolutely be poison for the NBA. But, Saddiq Bey is really solid. And plus, he's only 25 years old. So I would take a chance on him. Maybe him, Patrick Williams, Modest Buzelis. I mean, maybe that's your, three-man wing rotation for the next couple of years. But, I think Bey is going to want to go play somewhere else and probably go play for a contender and, make more money than the Bulls could offer him. But how about he was the first overall pick, right? Yeah, Markelle Fultz. Spent his time with the Orlando Magic this past season. Markelle is an interesting choice. Don't love the fit with the Bulls, considering they already have four guards that, I'm a big fan of in, Lonzo, Josh Giddey, Ayo, and Kobe White. But, I think Markelle has kind of turned himself into a sneaky good role player here in the league. He can come off the bench, be a good playmaker. And this past season, playing in 43 games, averaged 7.8 points, 2.8 assists, a steal a night, and also pretty efficient as well at 47.2%. But I do want to kick into this here. We do this on a couple of our live shows, and I think it's just a fun question to ask you guys, get the brain churning a little bit. So I want you guys to name a random Bulls player for me. I actually got Coop producing this video. Coop, you got one off the top of your head? Random Bulls player? I'll go mine. Well, Coop's thinking about it. I'm going to go Andre Snowshione, one of my favorite players to watch. Coop was gonna go Nocioni as well. That's a great call. But hey, you guys get down in the comment section. Name a random Bulls basketball player for me. I'll throw another one out there. How about Bulls Rondo? Rondo was a great one. Great Bulls legend there. Dwayne Wade, yeah, Coop, there it is. That's a good one. But hey, you guys let me know down below in the chat. But Hayward Highsmith coming in next for the Bulls. Very similar to Caleb Martin. Way better defender than Martin is, but you know, as in terms of like a point of attack wing guy, this is a good option, I think. But again, like with where the Bulls are, like, listen, if they were a championship contending team and they were like right on the verge of, potentially being one of the top teams in the league, yeah, a guy like Highsmith would be of interest to me. But with where the Bulls are at right now, I don't know. I just don't think it makes too much sense to bring in a guy who's going to necessarily just help you get better on the margins. And also, he's going to take shots away from Patrick Williams. And, I would, in an ideal world, I'm playing Patrick Williams 40 minutes a game. He's getting around 15 shots a night. And if you would bring in a guy like Haywood Highsmith, it would stunt his development a little bit. But let's get to another pure shooter here out of Duke, Luke Kennard. Tell you what, one take I had that was completely wrong about him. I thought he was going to come in and be like a Tony Kukoc-esque type of NBA player. And, he hasn't had a bad, career so far. I mean, the stats are really good. He's a very efficient three-point shooter, and he does it on incredible volume. You see on screen right now, 6.1 three-point attempts per game last season on a terrible Memphis Grizzlies basketball team, and he shot 45%. Incredible stuff. But even the year before, 4.6 threes a game, 49.4%. 6 threes a game in 21, 45% as well. 3.6 per game in 2020, 45% as well. He's one of the best shooters we have in the league. And I actually think a guy like Kennard would honestly help the development of guys like Kobe, Ayo, Giddey, Patrick Williams, just to have a floor spacer out there on the court. I think, adds tremendous value for younger players. Just, opens up the driving lanes just a little bit more. So Kennard, actually a guy I would love for the Bulls to bring in and just be that floor spacer for Chicago. But what about a Cleveland Cavalier, Isaac Okoro, who he is a restricted free agent, I believe. I don't know the exact details there, but he is out there on the market, and he's a pretty good defender. We really saw him almost get played out of the rotation 2 postseasons ago when the Cavs took on the New York Knicks. They literally just did not guard him, and it just kind of stunted their offense during that series. But Okoro, he's a great defender, plays really hard. He's a young guy as well. So maybe you could be looking at him as maybe a backup 2 for the future. But I do expect him to return to Cleveland. But Okoro will be an interesting option for any basketball team. But how about a forward here? And I actually think the Bulls have a need at the 4 spot. Dario Saric. Now, I'm a fan of his game. Always have been a fan of his game. And I think the Bulls what they have at the 4 spot right now. Like you got Jalen Smith who could play some stretch 4. Obviously, I would prefer him playing some stretch 5. But Saric is not a bad choice, and he's still productive. Always been a very efficient 3-point shooter. Just plays within the offense very, very well. Can help space the floor for any type of basketball team. So hey, that's another option I wouldn't be too upset about. But overall, the Bulls they're not in any position to go all in on any of these guys. Like a lot of these names are just I either want the Bulls to get a shooter or a young player who you can hopefully bet on. And, maybe they develop and you're looking back at that contract 2-3 years down the line. You're like, that's a great deal. But, hey, I just gave you guys 9 names. I just want you guys to give me one. Name a free agent you want the Bulls to sign. Let me know down below. Also, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here because if the Bulls sign any of those guys, we'll have a video for you ASAP. So hit that subscribe button. Lock us in as your go-to Bulls YouTube channel. And thank you, everyone, for the support on the channel as of late. See you guys next time. Go Bulls.